My name's Barbara the Welder, and I'm a full-time metal sculptor. For today's welding project, I'm going to show you how to make keychains like this out of bicycle chain, like that. The first thing you have to do is find some bike chain. Hey kid, come here! Now that you have your material from your scrap pile, I won't judge. It's time to figure out what shape that you want. The way I do it is, before I go cutting everything apart, I lay out the shapes on my bench first to make sure that it looks good and that I have enough links. Now, as you're designing a shape, make sure that before you cut it, that you have opposing ends and not the same ends, so that they'll fit together and that you have this hole through which that you can put your ring for your keychain. You're going to need to cut your chain. Now you can do this in a couple of different ways. They do have a chain breaker. I did buy one. I used it the first time and it broke. So what I've found to be the easiest is, once you have your design, I take my chain and I fold it where I want to cut it. Like if I want this to be the spot, I take my Air 90, I grind off this little nub, the top nub. That's a technical term. I have a punch that I get it started with, punch and a hammer. I just get it started, and then I use a very small punch to punch it all the way through. All right, now that you have your pieces cut, they're gonna need to be cleaned. These are bike chains. They've been living in oil all your life. You will never get all the crap out of them, with all due respect. I mean, you can try, but what I found works the best is a wire brush, and I just take and I wire brush it. You can also take a shop rag and wipe it off if there's a lot of heavy grease on it. All right, with your pieces clean, it's time to do your layout. Now, as you're doing your layout, there's two things to keep in mind. One, where your holes line up is important, because that's where your keychain is gonna hang from. And two, that has to be perfectly aligned. But what I mean by that is, if it's not perfectly aligned, this is gonna be just a pain to move. It's not gonna be a good functioning keychain. You want it to be nice and loose. And you do that by making sure that that hole is lined up. I do that by keeping this in there as I'm welding. And you have to be super careful you don't weld that punch into it. But I put that punch in there for an alignment tool. You can take a small piece of scrap round bar and use it for an alignment tool to help you out, so that way you never weld your tool. But you can be super careful and go ahead and get your layout the way you want it. All right, once you have your layout where you want it, now it's time to weld. And the way you're gonna do that is by welding one link to the link next to it. When you come in with your welder, you wanna come straight down, so as you don't hit the piece to the side, because your wire is gonna come out and it's gonna end up pushing this. So by going straight down, it's gonna not push it out of the way. Each time you weld each link, look at your layout. You might have to go back and move it a little bit, or adjust it some, because sometimes it does move. And you're just gonna weld from one link to the next, and then you're gonna weld from one link to the next, and you just weld in that little valley and make sure that you tie in both pieces. And then we're gonna flip the piece over, and you're gonna do the same thing on the other side. It's gonna 100% guarantee you that that will not break, as long as your welds are good.
I've been slicing the horizon with my hand. I've been sneaking up and peeking at your door.
As you saw while I was welding, there's a lot of smoke that comes up out of these. You're welding oil, so not the healthiest thing that you could possibly do. Keep your face out of the fumes. I've got a large ventilation system set up over my bench that helps protect me, but keep yourself back as you're doing this. So once they're welded, you want to clean them off. Again, with the wire brush, and just clean off the weld discoloration. If there is any spatter on there, you want to get it with a hammer and a chisel and hit them with the clear coat to finish them off. You can pick up the key rings at your local hobby store, or I have put a link down below in the description. They're 24 millimeters round split rings that you can use if you shop online. The link is down there. I'm also going to include a link for these if you guys are interested in my Etsy shop. It's Barbie the Welder, or there is a link down in the description. Hope you guys love the project. I really enjoyed sharing it with you. I would love to hear what you're going to make. Just because you see me make these doesn't mean that's what you have to do. This is your project and make it what you want. Happy welding, y'all. Love ya.